Hello and welcome to Last Week On. My name is Adam Straughan and we are back again covering Invincible Season 2, Episode 7 this time. I'm not going anywhere. But before we jump into that, I have a very, very special guest who's come back to the podcast for this. He is the co-host of Coffee and Tequila, My Bloody Judy, and you can see him on YouTube under AZB with his husband, Alistair, who I had on the last episode. It's my pleasure to welcome back to the podcast, Mr. Zachary Patton-García. How you doing, buddy?
Ooh, very happy to be here. Yeah, I'm a little sick. I have to be honest. Allergies are killing my ass. But I'm not a Viltrumite, you see. So if I was a Viltrumite, allergies wouldn't affect me one bit. So I'm a little sniffly, but I'm here. I'm ready. I'm excited to talk about this episode.
Ready to sniffle your way through some Invincible. But
that's basically what we're doing.
Exactly that.
I'll try to go off mic for that.
Totally fine, man. I'll just make it sound like fight, like sound effects or something when you get really sniffly. Oh, I'm leaving that in. But yeah, Zach, this is the penultimate episode. So after this, we've got the season finale and then that's it.
Is it? Okay, so I wasn't sure about that because I haven't been reading any of the behind the scenes stuff or any messages they've been putting out. I've just been taking it as it comes. So it's 8 episodes then. Son of a bitch, I'm so over this. I am over the 8 episode seasons, okay? Somebody needs to start a strike against that. I don't think none of the actors anymore should work or none of the production or writers or anything. I'm not for any of that. I'm across picket lines, okay? Until you start delivering 15 plus episode seasons.
Yes. And honestly, there's enough in this show to give us that. Take us back
to... There's so much. How are you doing it in 8 episodes?
When, this season 2 alone has had so much crammed into every single episode. It does it well. The pace does feel good. I don't feel like there's so much going on. I don't know what's going on. But there's enough that you could spread storylines out and give us more for 15. Bring back old Buffy 22 episode seasons. I'd be here for it, man.
Yes, at least 12, I think.
Yeah.
At least for this show, 12. Yeah. Do we remember how long the other one was? The first season, was it about the same? 8
that was episodes? 8 episodes as well. But
okay, Amazon, give a little bit more money, okay? Throw a little bit more cash at them.
Mr. Bezos, get behind it, man. But yeah, you know what? The good news is that they have come out and confirmed that they are filming and sorting out season 3 already, so there isn't going to be as big of a gap. And Robert Kirkman himself even said, "Look, guys, I hated how much of a gap there was between both seasons. So we are actively working on that to make sure that's not the case again."
Well, and we will get a little hint of that later. In this episode. I thought it was fucking hilarious, but we'll talk about it. Yeah.
That break of the fourth wall, I laughed my ass off all the way through. It was so fucking good. But yeah, Zach, so obviously, we've come back now, after the mid-season finale, so we had some time off. We've then had 2 episodes prior to this, but yeah, what's your general thoughts of those 2 episodes before we jump into this one?
Solid.
Yeah.
I'm now knowing that it's 4 episodes. I'm a little irked. But they were good, good to bring us back, right? And I thought the first half of the season did such a great job of really focusing on Mark and Debbie and their sort of aftermath. And I think this half of the season is doing a really great job because I think when we talked last time, we talked about how I remember saying I don't care about any of the other characters. I don't care about any of the Guardians and their storylines and stuff. It's a little bit boring to me. They are very much actively giving us side character storylines that I'm finding myself really caring about. So they're paying a lot of attention to that.
Yeah.
This half of the season, and I really like to see it. Rex, why am I feeling anything with Rex, right? But I'm glad they're doing it, And so I think they've done a really great job with that. 6 was a little bit of a slower sort of paced, I guess, something. This one is definitely an improvement from 6, but oh man, I'm just so excited to dive into this one.
Yeah, man, definitely. And as you said, for me, and I think I said to you before when we did the first half of season 2, 12 years ago, that Rex becomes one of my favorite characters, and this is the start of that. So even this
in
now
those comics, right? Okay.
Yeah. So where we go with this storyline with Rex, fucking love the way they've tipped him on his head and turned him around. Especially this episode and the conversation he has with Mark later on. I was like, this is the Rex I fucking love.
There's a lot of stuff in this one. This is the episode of PTSD. Everybody has PTSD in this episode. Everybody's been through something and everybody is a little bit shell-shocked.
Yeah.
So
it's PTSD and it's also choice. There's a big thing about choices in this episode. When we make the choices, whether we go through them, whether we don't, and that's all in different ways with different characters. And it's really interesting. And especially and we will come to this because I will highlight the fuck out of this, but Donald, wow. Like something that he says later on, like I wrote it down word for word.
A character that is so boring to look at, least interesting to look at, not doesn't come off like he would be interesting at all. He's being given a lot to do, and it's pretty, and not even that he's been given a lot to do, but it's the things that he is given and the journey that he is taking is also playing into other people's journeys. He's like kind of turning into an integral role in other people's sort of their own, PTSD, I guess. Yeah, we'll get to it though.
100%. Yeah, he's carrying in a lot of themes of the show, and he's doing it really, really well. But yeah, so I wrote down in my notes basically from last time, like Rex was shot. We've got Nolan in jail. We've got the purple baby Oliver, Zach's favorite. And then we've got Mark and Amber as well. And then Nordstrom was like revealed to be back as well at the end of the last episode, who, fucking 10 years ago we saw him.
They got to do something because they didn't put him in enough of this season, and I don't give a fuck.
And the thing is as well, like what it could mean for him with like all the different, like, where he could go through the different portals to the different, like, I'm like, okay, let's calm down. Like, I don't know whether I'm ready for that, but we'll see what happens. But we start this episode where we are at Comic-Con. So we're at a superhero convention. It is Mark and Amber. They're there. We have a lot of Invincible fans. And I really did laugh at how quick this title card came this time, where like we had all the people dressed up as like Invincible, and like they were like looking over and they were like, look out, evil, where? And they're just Invincible. They just straight into it.
It's really good. And we're really like building up to that the new suit color, or the new suit color is what I'm guessing that is. Okay. So new suit color. I get a real kick out of seeing that sort of, it's very meta, right? It's Mark seeing everybody dressed up like him. Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah, no, 100%, because it's like a few things where like, he's probably like realizing like now, like, oh, actually, like, yeah, like I am a superhero. Because for a long time he questioned what that meant to be that. And now he's got like fans that are like running around dressed up as him.
And
like
Comic-Con was really like his world. Like they even him and Amber even go into a whole conversation here about, they don't really get to spend a whole lot of time together, and they're doing a thing that Mark really enjoys. So it's got to be so surreal for Mark. It's something that he really enjoys, and he probably does like every year, to now have that identity of himself, that piece of himself, like infiltrating his own like little normalcy, little pocket of normalcy. And it also speaks to the rest of the episode, right? Because he's like, I can do college, I can have a real relationship, I'm good. I can do both. I can do both. And he's like really fighting that push-pull. And he can't even go to Comic-Con without Invincible coming and crashing, So.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, like he's torn away from everything. Every time he tries to step away from it for even 5 minutes to do something as a teenager,
it's in his face. It's his life
literally
now.
Every single time. But I do love the emotional maturity of communication in their relationship now. Like, as you said, Zach, like when they're talking to each other, remember season 1, Amber, when she was kind of like, I knew you were a superhero all along, and a bit like on a high horse, and I didn't like that with Amber. But this version of Amber, I love. When she's saying, look, like, the fact we're together is what matters. Like, and she even says, like, I'll let you know when I'm not having a good time, but you're enjoying it, and that's what matters. And even Mark, when he checks in on her and he's like, look, are you enjoying this? Because we can cut out if you want. She's like, no, I'm good. And I love like that emotional maturity of their communication, and even that
they're communicating. Yeah, they're communicating, but she is still like, she was kind of annoying me here a little bit because she is being snippy with him. She is he's picking up on the energy that she's giving off. She's absolutely giving off that energy. Like, she doesn't really want to be there. She is kind of annoyed. And it may not be she doesn't want to be there, but she is kind of annoyed. It's just there's other things in her mind that are like kind of ruining the moment for her, right? Like you can tell as they're sitting there walking, she is also thinking of the problems in their relationship at the same time, right? So it's not really a free, everybody go get to have fun type of thing. Yeah. And she is getting snippy with him. And I'm like, Amber, I am just like, I'm glad, I'm ready to get to the end of the relationship. Don't want them together anymore. I think I'm ready for this breakup too. It's too like up and down with Amber, and I'm over it.
It's hard. And you know what, like the perfect thing you've said there is that it's too up and down with Amber, because that's the main problem. Like they can't find the middle ground where they can both like live their lives together, because they're always going to be pulled apart because they're in two different places, literally. And none of them can help that. Like, it's just their lives. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that relationship kind of unfolds as time goes on and what happens next without giving anything away. So,
Seance dog, they say it a lot. Seance dog a lot.
yeah. So Mark goes and meets the writer of this, and I fucking love this. I howled when they did this. So yeah, Zach, what happens when he goes to see the writer of this comic?
Well, I mean, the writer of the comic is basically the creator of this TV show. So
Robert Kirkman.
He is breaking the fourth wall, very meta, letting us know, sorry guys, animation takes time. Animation takes time. It's taking us some time. Sometimes we have to cut corners, and here's all the little things we cut corners with. Sometimes you'll see the back of a character's head when they're speaking, so we don't have to animate them talking. Cut to like the back of somebody's head. Sometimes the animation will look like it doesn't belong in the show. Cut to animation that doesn't really look right. Brilliant. I love how in on this show everybody feels. From episode to episode, it always feels like the writers and the creators are in on the joke with us.
Yeah. That whole section for me was like them just winking at the screen to us and like, we get it. Like, we absolutely get it. Like, literally, like, I love all of it. And he's like, like, and when Mark's, he's like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Just all of that, like the covering of the mouth as soon as they talk about it. And then the camera pulls back and he's like, have you ever noticed that there's wide shots and the people aren't actually doing anything? Like, just
and you know what? I saw that for the rest of the episode too.
Yeah.
I was like, there's one shot with Amber and Mark when they're on their date. They're walking through like that little like market and nobody is moving behind them. Everybody's just like completely just frozen, and it's so funny.
And even Mark says, like, you say, wow, I'm going to watch season 2 and really keep an eye out for that. Like, it's literally telling us like what they're doing. It's so fucking good. And like that one clip when Mark has like those anime eyes, when like, and he says like sometimes the animators get carried away and like his eyes completely change for like 2 seconds and then goes back.
That's really fun.
It's great. It's absolutely great. And then Mark gets a phone call from Eve, and he says, look, we need your help. I'd go and do it, but I'm on another mission. But Rex has left the hospital himself. And he's like, shit, this was supposed to be my day, like, with Amber. But yet again, I got to go. And like, she basically, I mean, to be fair, Amber does say, look, I get it, like, off you go type thing. And away he goes. Now, we see what Rex is doing. So Rex is in a warehouse. He's fighting basically this squid tentacle monster who he refers to later on as Davy Jones, which made us laugh. Yeah, and then basically, he's proven himself again, right? And like he even says that to Mark later on. He says, I need this. So like as he's fighting, obviously he thought he was going to die, right? And he thought he'd lost it all. Like when that bullet went through his head, like he was like, well, I'm dead. And then he lost his hand and he thought, I've lost so much of like this. Am I still a hero? Can I still do this? And this was
such
him
a traumatic event, and he is kind of spiraling a little bit and needing. But I think the way he is like kind of dealing with it does feel pretty healthy. Maybe don't go off on your own. Maybe bring like a little bit of backup just in case, right?
Yeah.
But he does seem very clear-minded about what he is there to do. It's not him just going out and being reckless. Like when we see Rick later doing the same sort of thing and dealing with his own sort of whatever he's dealing with, he is being reckless by standing on the edge of a building. And like Rex is, yes, being reckless, but like with a purpose, right? He's like, I need to work my nerve back up. I need to show myself that this is him conquering his fear, right? He's like, he is scared that this could happen again. We see that him at the beginning of this fight, and he's scared that like he might get clobbered again. He might get shot in the head. He might not make it out of this fight, but like he works himself up in this fight because he needs to do that, right? And so I really like the intention behind it, and it makes perfect sense.
I completely agree. Like Rex is a character who for a long time has led with ego. I got this. I can do this. I'm like an incredible fighter. Like you ain't got shit on me. And I think he had a lot of that knocked out of him when the Lizard League, who he thought was like a joke, basically killed him. And then he watched like 2 of his friends that he thought were going to die. One of them did. The other one obviously hasn't. And he thought that was probably the big shakeup in his life where he thought, fucking hell, I am not invincible.
Really scary stuff. Do you remember you watched American Horror Story?
Yes.
Freak show, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of that season, Dandy, if you haven't seen it by now, sorry, that's your own fault. Dandy is like kind of a joke throughout the show, right? And then at the end of the season takes a gun and goes and shoots everybody. And it's like really like, that's true horror, like real scary. And like, that's what you're describing here is like they were also, that group was seen like as the joke, and then they come in and really fuck everybody up.
Exactly. And it's like, again, and I said this to Alistair, and I said this to Ian as well, like the show always just that thing of where just when you start to get comfortable, something will flip on its head completely. Like, you know, like Duplicate dead. And it looked like Shrink and Ray dead, Rex nearly dead. And like you were like, whoa, fucking hell. But I think Rex was also feeling that whoa, fucking hell as well. But you're right, Zach, you're absolutely right in what you said there. Whereas like Rex could have easily gone down that path, like we've seen with other characters. He could have stayed in that hospital, kind of really worked through his PTSD of like, oh my God, what am I doing? Having this kind of existential crisis, kind of what am I going to do? But instead of doing that, he's like, right, I'm going to get back in the game and I'm going to prove this to myself. And I love like when Mark
making a choice.
Yes.
He's making a choice to conquer his fear. And like, that's not the way that everybody's trauma works. Sometimes trauma is so arresting that you just can't do that. But he does have the inner strength enough, and he recognizes that in himself, that he is able to make a choice to go and do that. And I fucking love that, because we do get a lot of well, you know, it's so debilitating, I can't really do anything, right? And this is a character that we had to have some sort of contrast, like a character that is willing to take it on like immediately.
Yeah. And I think the word for Rex as well here, it's responsibility. You know, he's taken responsibility for his own trauma. And Rex is someone that's really been reckless in the past where, like, you know, he's slept with different women, he's cheated on people, and he hasn't really cared. And he hasn't taken responsibility for the fallout of that. But this is Rex now taking responsibility to work through this as an adult for what's best for him. And it really fucking shows growth in him 100%. I really, really
makes
love
him
it.
Really likable.
And
I love when Mark shows up and he's you know, questioning Rex a little bit, but doesn't really, like, this is a quick turnaround, right? He sees what Rex is doing. He understands what Rex is doing.
Yes.
And that Rex is not spiraling. Rex is doing, he has a purpose. And he needs to fight the big bad guy. So Mark goes and takes on the smaller guys, and then they have a little talk afterwards, which is pretty cool. They're a little bonding moment at the end.
They do. I love it. I love as well, like when he says, please, dude, I need this to Mark. And Mark doesn't, as you said, doesn't hesitate because he gets it. Mark's had his ass handed to him so many times, and he's done the same thing. So straight away he's like, okay, cool, I'll take the little guys. And obviously Rex unveils that hand cannon that he's got, like Spider-Man, like hand like this, fires it, kills the squid monster. But yeah, this conversation afterwards, I love this. I love Rex joking about like, oh, I found out you can grow your teeth back in. But then like as well, when he says, he's asking after him and Amber, right? He's like saying like, look, how are things? Right. I get it. Look, let me and the Guardians, we can cover for you for like 2 nights, whatever. It gives you time to spend time with Amber. And like, I love when he says as well, like, oh, Cecil can blow it out of his ass. And like, Mark's like, I don't think that's possible. He's like, it doesn't matter, man. Like, we have got your back. Fucking love it, man.
It's these are things that we needed. We need a little bit more bonding like this, or like something to make me care about the Guardians and stuff. Because up until now, I feel like the Guardians were just kind of this presence behind Mark, but like never really. They focus on that fucking little girl and that robot all the time, and I don't care about them enough to even know their names. So, but like branching out and like having moments like this between him and Rex, or you know, later on with the fucking Immortal.
Yes.
Like, I didn't give a fuck about the Immortal either. And now I'm like caring about the Immortal. It's good stuff.
Yeah. And I think as well, like it's, you know, in a way, like it's tying us to the emotional core of the show, but also it's tying us to the characters that we love. So now like Rex is really tied to Mark in this because they're building this friendship. We already love Mark from the get-go. Now we can see how their relationship is like really pulling them together and giving us more to care about with Rex. Whereas as you say, like the, you know, like the whole Ruddy and Monster Girl thing, that feels like it's going on like over here, like in the distance, and it hasn't really pulled into the center. And that's why we don't really care about it, because what are the stakes with that? I do like the line when, you know, when he says, let me fix you, and she says, I'm cursed, not broken. It's like,
I do. Yeah. I'll walk my sort of like carelessness back a little bit, because it is, they're finally like really hammering the point that every time she turns, she's getting younger, and that is kind of dire. And I think that that's really good to remind the audience and really give us the weight of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like, and as well, like, we've got to remember that Ruddy was robot before. So like, although he was starting to understand human emotion, he still doesn't get a lot of it. So he's like, in his mind, it's logical. You've got something wrong with you. I can fix that. And she's trying to say, well, hold on a second. Who are you to tell me what's wrong with me? You know, and we do get similar themes with that going through this show as well, of like somebody knowing themselves better than somebody else and vice versa.
Yeah, for
so it is definitely playing into that. I do love Samson and Bulletproof talking on the balcony, and like Bulletproof is like just giving everyone
like,
shit.
Our fucking team is in shambles,
Shit.
dude. Like, we are dying. Something has to happen because like we're not gonna make it.
He's like, we're a shit show. He's like, this person's got this wrong with him. I love when he's like, and finally, whatever the hell Shapesmith is, and you just see him doing this weird like stance. It's so fucking funny. And he's like, and Samson's like, well, you forgot me. What about me? He's like, well, you're bald. Samson's hair was his whole thing. I fucking love it because he's really showing them for what they are. A fucking shit show.
We need the person off to the side, the Spike character, like pointing out that everybody's gonna lose, and we need that.
100% that. Obviously, Samson then does say the line like, oh, we're like family. It makes us unbreakable. And then this scene with Immortal and Cecil, my God, like the funeral scene with Immortal when he talked about losing Duplicate. And I loved in that last episode. And he was like, she was the only person that got me because I have lived and died. Like I've lived so many different lives and she has lived so many different lives and lost so many times, but she always saw it as something worth coming back for because she loved people in the world and he couldn't grasp that, but she's the only one that could understand what he was going through.
Yeah, this is the kind of disservice of like 8 episodes, right? Is because we could have painted their relationship a little bit better.
Yes.
I didn't really care that Duplicate died. You know what I did? I thought her powers were really cool, and I kind of wanted her to like stay around. But other than that, I didn't really care about her all that much. I didn't really get insight into their relationship. It's like a couple of like one episode could have done that, you know.
Yeah.
But I do like that. I like his character in that he is the immortal. He has lived so many lives, has seen people come and go all the time. And this one has really affected him. And he is so affected that he is recognizing that he's kind of unstable right now, a little off the handle, you know, irritable, angry, sad, all of those. And it's not making for a good superhero, you know, and that he wants time away. And that he wants to quit. And Cecil's like, you can't quit. It's not gonna fucking happen, but like here, paid vacation, like go
off you go.
Your cabin in your cherry tree or whatever the hell it is. That might be George Washington. He's Abraham Lincoln, right?
Abraham Lincoln, yeah.
I feel like I ask you every time I'm on here.
I'm like, he's fucking like
he's Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, so he's gonna go back to his little cabin and wherever Abraham Lincoln was from.
Exactly. But I do love like you know, like as you say, Cecil's like, look, sorry, Immortal, but that can't fucking happen because we need you. Let's be real. But I will give you time off. And I love the line when he says, like, I was already broken, Cecil. Kate's death just finished me off. And I'm like, man, that hits so differently.
Because you have to imagine that this, you know, he does say that Kate's death was different than anybody else. But I would also do a deeper reading into that as because he has lived through so many generations and seen people he's cared about come and go so often that every time that happens, he loses a little bit of himself. And this may just feel like the point where he has lost the last shred of himself. And so it's just all gone now. And he doesn't have anything left.
Absolutely love that. And as well, like, you know, he's losing a little bit of himself, but he watched Kate every time lost a version of herself when like that version of her died, you know, so she understands the parallel.
I know that's supposed to be serious, but it's a little funny.
But yeah, like again, the show does it well when it makes you feel something more for these characters that were sidelined. Immortal is still pretty sexy though, I'm not gonna lie. Like whenever he's on screen, I'm like,
Which episode was it? This episode they made fun of? No, it wasn't this one.
No,
made fun of
the Tash missing. Yeah, that was really funny. It was the last episode. Obviously, then Cecil basically gives Ruddy. He says, "Oh, your new job's opened up again as leader." Then we cut to Rick. So this is William's boyfriend. Now he's going through it all again, which by the way, I didn't realize Rick is voiced by Luke McFarlane, but I didn't realize that.
Really?
Yeah. So you've got Luke McFarlane as Rick, and then you've got like another gay actor as well as William. So I love that, like, as you know, together it works really, really well. But as well, they recast Sinclair's voice actor. I don't know if you knew about this. So D.A. Sinclair, he's the character that basically experimented on Rick and turned him into like that robotic cyborg version of himself. It was originally Ezra Miller, and then they've recast the voice.
Okay, well, I see ya.
Yep.
So they probably would have recast him anyway, because I feel like Ezra Miller, probably movie star now, right?
Got a lot going on.
Was for a second. If he'd continued, you know,
got a lot
see
going
him
on.
wanting to stick around with the cartoon.
Yeah, I know, right? Anyway, so Rick's having like flashbacks. He obviously is feeling that trauma of that he was a cyborg and that his memories are all fucked up, right? So like even in the last episode, I think it was when William was like, "Oh, like let me show you around the campus. This is like this and this," and he goes up to the fountain where he died, and he's like, "I don't remember any of this." And it is kind of exploring those, you know, those questions of if we don't have our memories, then who really are we? And like how much of that makes up who we are. And Donald is definitely the vessel that kind of channels a lot of that from later on.
Yeah.
And as you said in the last episode, Donald was the one who said, look, guys, I'm here. If you need anything, give me a call. And obviously we do lean into that later on. But we do cut to Donald. And I love this when like Donald's going on his own journey where he's going through pretty similar stuff to what Rick's going through right now. And he's like, I love when Cecil's like, Jesus, is there something in the fucking water today? Because everyone wants to leave.
I felt that watching the episode. I'm like, what the fuck is happening with everybody?
Just the way Cecil delivered that. It was really, really funny. But yeah, so again, like Donald's questioning who he is without his memories. And then Cecil says, look, if you really want to see, then I will show you who took away those memories because it was not my choice. And obviously, the reveal is he's actually died, what is it, 39 times?
39 times, yeah. And so he goes through like a thumb drive and gets to look at every single death he's experienced. So
right. And like every time, and he was the one that made the decision, I don't want to keep my memories. So the whole time he's blaming Cecil for that. But Cecil's like, look, you were the one that made the decision. I was just honoring that.
You know, Cecil needs a little bit more credit at this point. I think Cecil gets such a bad rap from everybody. And I think at the end of the day, Cecil, and we always get like the hint that Cecil is evil or the a little like, I don't know. There's always a feeling,
it's set up like
feeling that he's just seedy or something, and he's really just not. He's doing his fucking job. He's like, man, we gotta save the universe. Y'all all need to get in line. Let's go. And Donald's like getting all mad, having his own crisis, and Cecil's like, shit, man, I don't care. Do you want your own file that you made? You made this. You have the password in your head. I don't even have the password to your file. It's like,
and you know what?
Do you want to know about this for the rest of your life? Sure. It's always been your decision. He's like, I have work to do, y'all. I have work to do. A Viltrumite is on its way. He's just like crying around the episode.
Literally, and Cecil's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I've got a world to protect. Why is everyone crying?
He said, do you see my face? I would like this to not happen again, okay?
If everyone could just calm the fuck down. But yeah, I love Cecil, if I'm honest. Like, he's the guy that's like, he cuts straight through the bullshit and gets to the point every single time. So he's like, look, you can't leave Immortal because we need you to protect the Earth. Go and have some time off, but you'll be coming back. Like later on when he's like, Mark, look, I know you asked for time off, but here's a Viltrumite. We can't do that anymore. But still, underneath all of that, he was the one person that went straight to Debbie and said, look, Debbie, you've got this baby. You've been through fucking hell. We can look after this baby for you so you don't have to take on that responsibility. Now, of course, Debbie was like, look, no. But Cecil went and did that. You know, now I understand.
He did, and there was an ulterior motive.
Yes.
Like, right? Like, he did want to, like, study this baby. It's just not
have it as a weapon. Yeah.
But, you know...
He checked in on her while he was there.
He's got a purpose. He's got a job to do. Okay.
Yep.
Everybody needs to give him a little bit of a break.
Yeah. No, I'm Team Cecil, honestly. I think he's great. And he is like, if Mark falls and like if the Guardians weren't, like Cecil is the only line of defense for the Earth, really. He's the only one if Mark like goes.
If Cecil decides to take 2 weeks off, like all these other little bitches, then everything goes to shit. Nobody knows what to do. So...
Cecil don't take no time off.
No days off.
No. And then, so then we cut back to school. We've got Amber and Mark. And like they're outside of the dean's office, right? So then he's nervous. He's like, oh my God, I have to explain my absence to the dean. And like Amber's like, look, you know, whatever happens, we'll figure this out together. This is what I was talking about where like this episode really leans into choice, right? So like, and this is the most obvious one where like Mark goes in to see the dean and Dean basically says to Mark, look, you've been taking the fucking piss. Like your grades are terrible. Make a
decision now. It's time.
What's important to you? Because that's what you should be dedicating your time to. You can't balance both. That is the metaphor for the relationship, right? You can't balance both. You have to lean into what you can do and what is the right thing for you to do. Is it school or is it something else? And like he says, look, I'll give you 1 month. 1 month to turn your life around. If you really dedicate yourself to the school, and if you can't, whatever. This is the starting point for the parallels with him and Amber. This whole thing about choice and what we choose to do and what we put our energies into, right? That is a choice. That is what we are. That's what we want to do. And Mark is conflicted with that, right?
It's just he wants, because he wants this. He wants college. He wants all of the normalcy, right? But he also, everybody knows it. Amber knows it. He knows it. Dean Winslow knows it, that he is his responsibility is elsewhere, and that he's not going to be able to just like turn that off. He can't just be with Amber and see the city being attacked and then never spring into action. It's just this relationship is not going to work. It was doomed from the start.
Exactly. Yeah, and they've been trying to make it work. They've been trying to balance it. They've been trying to meet each other.
They gave
in
it
the
the
middle,
effort.
but they
It's
did.
just not. It's not going.
No, they're on different paths. They've got different responsibilities. And Amber has that really good line later on when she kind of has that talk about her own life and like how that is, or in a way, kind of meaningless to Mark because he has much bigger things to worry about. But at the same time, she doesn't want her life to be used against him. But obviously, we'll get to that later on. But yeah, so obviously Mark has to make this choice. Can we talk about Debbie and Paul from work? Like,
Yes.
I was so happy when he asked her out on a fucking date because Debbie deserves some happiness, right?
Yeah, I think so. Debbie is I don't know. It's cute. She accepts
Yeah.
it. Like, he's like, you want to go out? And she's like, yeah, how about Thursday?
How about next
Takes
Thursday?
a second
Yeah.
to think about it, but then, it's pretty quick with it. Pretty quick to go on that date.
And I love it. Like, she should be. Like, at the end of the day, who the fuck knows where Nolan is and what's going on there? She deserves some happiness with this cute guy from
She
work.
does. She does. She needs to explain her purple alien space baby, but, that'll come later.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. That's fine.
Exactly. Mhm.
So then obviously we see Debbie, she enters the house. Oliver's in there, the purple baby, with April, voiced by Callista Flockhart, by the way. Ally McBeal
Ooh,
herself.
Love that. Love
Sam.
Callista Flockhart's
Sam.
resurgence in media these days.
Yes, and she's in the new
Wonderful
Ryan Murphy
for her.
show, right?
Is this nanny evil? Is she in the comic books? Is she? I bet she's a scary one. I bet
This
she's
is
scary. She
yeah.
wasn't set by Cecil, I don't think.
Fucking April. That was the name of the Buffy robot, right? April as well.
Yeah.
Who she fought? Yeah.
You just
Fucking
never trusted
April.
April.
Never trusted April. Fucking all the Aprils out there emailing. But yeah, so basically, and it's funny because remember, like the last episode, she was like, "I work for you, Debbie. I don't work for Caesar." That's like, okay, you're telling her what she wants to hear here. But like straight away, she says, "Oh, no powers from Oliver yet so far, but he will be getting them quicker than Mark." And at that point, obviously, Mark comes downstairs as well. But all I'll say is just keep an eye on April. Like, it's obvious. The way it's set up, like, it's obvious. She's got an ulterior motive, right?
Something's happening here.
Yeah, fucking April. I do love this next scene, though, Zach. Like, the moments when I remember back in season 1 as well, this was like the moment when Debbie and Mark, they basically sit outside in their backyard, right? And they're talking to each other. And Mark's kind of saying to Debbie, look, this is where me and Amber are right now. It's a bit of a shit situation. I fucking love this conversation. Like, I love moments like this when we get downtown with two characters that we love. Takes me back to season 1 when like Mark was like trying to be his father. And Debbie said that line to him, like, look, don't try and be your father, be the best version of you. And again, it's like similar here. It's like a mother giving her son advice, and I fucking
Because he's so
love it.
young. Like, he's got all these superpowers, and he's a big superhero, and people dress up like him at Comic-Con. But like, he's 18 years old. Like, he's still a baby. He's still a baby, and he's having to figure out life in unison with this whole superhero thing, right? And so I really like that it like kind of calls back to the beginning of season 2 where Debbie really didn't feel needed by Mark, right? And now Mark is here, and Mark needs Debbie, and Mark needs sort of her input, and Debbie's talking all about her and Nolan's relationship and how, Nolan didn't know how to be a human, and they had to like teach each other. And I love that she keeps referring to Mark and Oliver. Like, she has fully adopted Oliver as her own now, and I'm obsessed with that. I love that she references it's the three of us.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it is. And I hate this fucking baby, and now I love this baby. This baby is Debbie's baby, and Debbie deserved another chance to raise another superhero baby.
But it's the same thing we said before, right? Where like the reason why we love Rex and everything now is because he's going on this journey, but he's so connected with Mark. We fucking hated this baby when it first turned up because it's so connected to Debbie and what it means to Debbie now to raise that child.
Yes,
we understand
it's Debbie's
that
baby.
more.
It's not
Nolan's baby. No,
it's not Omni-Man's baby. It's Debbie's baby.
I do love that line when Debbie's talking about, when he asks, he's like, what were you and dad like when you first started dating? She's like, oh, he brought me a tree once instead of flowers. Like,
Thought this was like better than flowers, right? So what the fuck am I supposed to do with the tree, Nolan?
Yeah.
Really think about this.
Can't even hold that tree, Nolan. Like, that's going to crush me if you give me that fucking tree. But then I love as well when Debbie was like, look, I was lonely a lot of the time. Like, he was gone a lot. It was hard to parent alone. And like, now I've done that once, I've gone through it, and I can do that. I've got obviously help from April, but I have you now, and she's like, and it
Yeah.
was easier, but at the same time, it was really lonely. You know, even that line there, is it really a relationship if you're mostly alone? And she says that to
Yeah.
Mark, and that
It's
really
giving him the insight into what Amber could
yes, yeah,
be thinking, probably is thinking, and would be thinking in the future, right? And he needs to think about that before thinking about his own wants and needs. And it might not be something that Amber ever even admits to him, like up until this point, right?
yeah.
But he needs to be able to see the bigger picture and make a decision that is best for everybody.
Yeah, exactly that. And I love, like, we lean into that more as well. Like at the end, when Mark questions, like, if she'd be better off without like him, Nolan, and Oliver in her life. And Debbie, all she says was like, I would never have known, because she never had that choice. That has been her life. That's all she's ever known. Whereas right now, Mark has the decision to take that away from Amber. So it's like, it's interesting where it's exploring that, where Debbie would never have known. That's the choice she had. That's the life she lived. That's all she's ever known. Right now, Mark can change that for Amber and for him as well. So it is giving him a lot to think about. But just, oh man, give me like
it's
more
early
time.
enough for him to change it too. And I say break up with her.
Yep. Honestly, ditch her
Just
right
do
now.
it, Mark.
But yeah, more time with Debbie and Mark always. I fucking love it, man. Yeah, then we go to William and Donald. So earlier on, Donald's phone rang. It was William on the phone. Donald turns up. He's like, look, I'm sorry. I tried calling everyone. No one answered. Takes him up to the roof. And then we see, as you said earlier, Zach, we see Rick on the roof and he wants to jump. Donald here for me, gold fucking star.
Yeah.
Wow. I actually wrote it down. I'm going to read it out word for word. I'm not going to do a voice impression, but I'm going to read it out word for word. So obviously Rick wants to jump. And then he's talking about I don't remember who I was. The GDA, they rebuilt me back up and I'm not human anymore. And Donald says, look, basically, I'm exactly the same. I've died hundreds of times. I'm 95% basically robot again at this point. But then he says this: we are not our bodies. We're the decisions we make, the lives we change, the people we love or love us. I don't need to forget that, and neither do you. And I just thought that was so fucking
great.
strong.
It's just a great way of using his own sort of existential crisis to help others, and to be needed in the greater picture of all of these characters,
Yeah, and that's that's a really good point what you've brought up there, Zach. Whereas Donald, for the last kind of couple of episodes, really wrestled with this himself, where it was like a personal journey, and he was like, what am I? Now I'm finding I opened up my shirt and I've got this robotic chest and my arms, and he could have really wrestled with that himself, and it could have just been that, existential own personal crisis that he was having.
Yeah.
But he's taken responsibility here, where he's seen what Rick is going through and said, look, I get it, but remember, this is what makes us who we are. It's not this, it's not our bodies, it's what we decide to do. Again, it's this whole choice theme which runs through this episode, and it's what talks him down.
That William had a little bit more to do here in regard to Rick, right? Because he's had a little bit of moment, but it seems like William is more, and it's understandable that William would not really know how to handle this whole situation and be trying to distract Rick instead of helping him.
Yeah.
But I hope maybe in the next episode, maybe that William is we're able to see William take on a gentler role with Rick.
Well, I think Rick's going to find his happiness through William.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to lean into here, where, as you said there, William is not equipped to really kind of empathize. He can sympathize with, obviously, but he can't empathize with Rick at this point, because it's not an experience that he has. And that's why I knew I need to ring Donald. Donald will be the one that can help. But now going forward and with the choices that they make, Rick will make the choice in William to live their lives together, because that's where his happiness will be. And I really love that. This whole little scene means so much for those characters.
It's really good.
So really fucking good. Then we cut back to Mark and Amber. So they're back in their room. He's basically saying that he's got the night off. I loved as well when fucking Mark lifted his shirt up and showed his six-pack. I was like, fuck, hello.
Give us more of the Mark animation.
Yes.
Please. Tighter clothes, I say.
No clothes.
And he tells Amber no clothes would be even better, man.
Yeah.
Just do it. But he tells Amber that he's choosing her.
Yeah.
And it just, as hopeful as it is, it's not going to pan out that way. And it almost feels like the last sort of thing that they'll be able to do together. They they'll spend a little bit more time together, and then they'll have to, part ways, and they do. But it feels like almost he knows that too subconsciously.
We do get a taste of how life could be like if Mark didn't have all the responsibilities of saving the Earth, but just had his powers. Because we get this montage of them
her all
flying
over the city.
Literally.
I don't know if I could do that. I think that'd be too scary for me. I don't want to fly down and up buildings.
I know, right? It's very like Lois and Clark at this point, right? We're flying around the city, dropping her off, getting food. It's kind of like what Nolan and Debbie did as well, flying to different countries to get pizza and whatever. But yeah, all of this, and they're talking about going to Hawaii for spring break, and they're like, oh, we need to get work for all that, and Amber's going to help him get his grades back up. Oh,
making plans for the future,
Yeah, that's it. They're investing in each other at this point.
Yeah.
But again,
they're imagining, they're playing fantasy, they're acting out a scenario, a what if scenario that is only allowed because he has this night off, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't even, because we get interrupted immediately by the badass. These women Viltrumites are fucking cool as shit. Do you remember the woman with the
with the hair?
And we killed her. Well, now we have ANISSA, and I hope ANISSA is here for a very long time.
ANISSA?
She looks like Natalie Imbruglia. Imbruglia.
Imbruglia.
Torn.
Yes.
Yes, she looks like her.
Mark, did you know I thought I saw the man brought to life and just start singing on it?
They should have played that during their fight.
That would have been so fucking good. And it would have went really well anyway. But yeah, so ANISSA appears. Now, I fucking loved how dark this went like that.
Oh, yeah.
So they're sitting at the dinner table, they're all loved up talking about their life. And then suddenly all it is, it's just a hand on Amber's neck. But
I thought this was a dream.
Means.
So I thought it was going to kill. She was going to kill Amber, and Mark was going to wake up and realize, I can't do this because it was never going to. But no, this is real life.
Oh, shit gets real. I fucking loved it. I love when she's literally hand on neck. And I love when she says the line, don't even try and fly across the table because I'll snap her neck before you get close.
I felt so nervous. I'm like, she can do it too. She's going to do it.
Yep.
I felt the tension.
It was when Glory would turn up in Buffy and you'd be like, fuck.
But even Glory, they sometimes would paint Glory as powerful, but a lot of times, we never really got to see that extent. I know Glory could have ripped people apart like Viltrumite, right? But we didn't get to see that. Cable television, you couldn't really show shit like that. But you see it with them, and so when when a Viltrumite places her hand on the back of Amber's neck, I believe it. I'm like, I'm about to see it. I'm about to see it.
I think with Glory, it was always potential, right? And plus, it's an acted show. How much can you really demonstrate? Even when she took out all those guards, it was off camera. But then, here, we've seen what the Viltrumites can fucking do. So you know what that means with that hand on the neck. And then she says, look, I want to talk to you, Mark. And then he's like, look, okay, we're going to go up in the sky and we're going to talk. You're like, we're going to have this conversation.
He takes a long ass time to get up. He does. He takes his sweet time. He goes home, puts a suit on,
finishes his dinner
to her. He basically did finish his dinner, paid for the check. Yeah.
Sorry, just going to wait for the waiter to bring the bill.
My God.
But literally. But yeah, he obviously contacts Cecil as well straight away, right? And he's like, Cecil, shit's getting
so
real.
responsible too.
Yes.
Good job, Mark.
Yes.
Good fucking job.
Absolutely. I love this because prior to this, the old Mark would have been like, no, I've got this. I'm going to do this. I can take this
Cecil
on.
And he knows he can't because they was we were not ready yet. No, we're not ready yet. What do we have to throw,
He says that later on. I love as well, that line later on when Cecil says one fucking Viltrumite and we're fucking useless against it. We've got nothing.
But all of this paints the dire, how these stakes. There are stakes that even when one shows up, they're all shitting themselves because they have nothing. They have nothing. They look at her. They do a scan, which made no fucking sense to me. But they do a scan and Mark has 18% chance of living, and they're all just looking at her and they're like. We this can't be another Chicago, but we really cannot. We have nothing if she decides to go ham on everybody.
And you know what? Even though Mark's there, doesn't matter. They literally
does
have
not matter.
Nothing. Yeah. Nope, nothing at
all.
She
is here to sing and tear bitches apart.
Tear the world in half.
She's here to things are going to be torn.
Things are going to be torn in half. She's all out of faith. This is how she feels. But, and she kind of says that, she says look, humanity is a plague on this planet. And she's kind of really starting to try to justify to Mark her, but she is justifying her position. She's like,
she says everything right.
Yeah. She's like, you guys tear each other apart. You cause wars against each other. If you come under Viltrumite League, if you join us, we will stop that from happening. We will stop humanity from killing themselves. And Mark is obviously of the position where he's
a very convincing,
compelling argument.
You know, she really does say like we don't want to hurt humans. Like that's not beneficial for us and stuff like that. And so upon first hearing all of that, you know, you do think, well, they're right. You know, we're terrible for this planet. You know, we're fucking killing this planet. We will not survive. But then why don't they just give them the technology instead of having to enslave people?
Ruling over
you could
them.
just give, if you have the technology, just give it. And
that's it. And that's what Mark kind of that's what Mark points out in a way as well. Like he's like, look, like you're ready to kill so many people instantly to kind of prove a point. And then she even says, look, dead humans like do not benefit us in any way, which is obviously what you said, Zach. But yeah, like they've got the technology, they could help, but no, it's like we're going to enslave this planet and you will do what we want you to do, but it'll stop you from killing yourselves, but you will come under our rule. And Mark is coming from the point of like, look, people should have choice, which would come back to this theme of choice going through the episode again. People should have choice no matter how irresponsible it is. People learn from their choices. Mark has done that as well. But then she's saying, look what your fucking choices have done, humanity. You've torn each other in half. So she does make a very compelling argument, as you said, Zach. Then, so then what suddenly turns up in the water, Zach?
Oh gosh, it's a cruise ship getting attacked, right? I love their whole interaction, ANISSA and Mark, right? Because she's not there to bully him and be mean to him and all of that. She's like there to get him to understand what their whole goal is. And she's like very intrigued by him, right? So he says, I need to go save this cruise ship. Am I allowed to go do that? Will you just let me do that? And she's like, yes, I'd like to watch. And she goes and she like watches him almost like, you know, a parent watching a child. Like, and she wants to see what he can do. I always wonder like why he doesn't try to just like fly through monster heads. Because she like when
she does it.
Before she did that, I was thinking just go through the head. Dude.
Yeah. Take it out. Like, you can be like a bullet, like take it out. And like she kind of embarrasses him in a way, really, because like he can do shit nothing against this kaiju. It like bats him back as if he's a fly, and then she literally like she's like, I want to watch the son of Nolan to see how good he is, and she watches and she's kind of like, he's fucking shit. And then she, as you said, a bullet straight through its head, and it just falls down dead.
Gets it done, and she steps in, and you know, then she's like, this whole thing is just, I don't know. So I'm like, join her. But also, she's evil. So maybe she should join us.
But it's Natalie Imbruglia. She's badass.
A little bit longer because I think she's fucking cool, man.
She is.
I think
she's awesome.
So cool.
Yeah, her and the other one with the hair. Just give us a show about them two, please. Be fucking cool. Who's that? Like Anastasia or somebody with the hair, like them two, and Natalie Imbruglia.
She's already dead from my memory too. We've got ANISSA now.
We have ANISSA's the one. And then obviously they do save the ship, so they take it to that little island nearby. ANISSA obviously helps him to do that. And again, she's trying to say, look, we are going to enslave this planet. You're going to join us. You're going to come under Viltrumite rule. And like Mark's like, no, like I'm not going to say, yes, I will do what you want me to do. And even Cecil's like, careful.
Cecil's like, listen, we don't have anything.
Yes.
Please just say it. And she will fly off into the sky and we will have a second to regroup, right?
Yep.
And his age and his ego and his pride get in the way of that, right? Because it's also like fighting Omni-Man Part 2, you know?
Yes.
So it's like his like, it could be his redemption moment. Is like, there's a lot of pride going through him right now.
And he feels a lot of responsibility for what Nolan did as well. So he kind of feels like, I can't let that happen again. But I love the line when she says, remember this started with reason, before she like punches him into the sky. Like,
I love shit like that. I gave you a choice. I gave you a choice, Mark. And you chose. And then he gives her a choice too. She really pummels him. And she's like so close to just taking his head off. And he gives her a choice. He's like, well, then fucking do it, right? You need me so much. You need all humans so much. Just fucking do it. Dare you.
He like called her bluff, and I love that Mark did that. That was like a big fucking. Even Cecil says like that was fucking risky as hell, Mark. Like that was fucking risky.
These people are just stressing Cecil out. Like like where's the immortal? Where is he?
Where is everybody now? Why has everyone gone on holiday?
This was the fight we needed you for, the immortal, right?
now he's away in wherever, having a holiday on the beach, finding himself,
putting on like pilgrim hats and whatever Abraham Lincoln wore.
Just a pilgrim hat and nothing else.
That's what I picture. Yes, just a pilgrim hat.
And then she said like ANISSA then says, well, I'm not going to kill you because that's not my mission. And then she even says to Mark, and I love this threat when she says, look, someone else will come. And if you keep resisting, he will make you pay big time. She's like, that's not my mission, but you keep resisting, you're going to fuck up really bad because this guy, shit will get real when he comes. Obviously, he then leaves. And like Mark just had that line when like, you know, where he says those were more than just words, like what he said. And obviously it is kind of leaning back into that choice of it's everything, right? Like going back when he says, I don't want to become my father again. I don't just want to give up and fall under Viltrum rule. I want to stand up and fight. And Cecil's kind of saying, that was very risky. We could have all died. Kind of get where you're coming from, but let's be realistic here. Oh, and also your night's off.
I
there.
agree with Cecil too. I'm like, Mark, just say the line and like let's just say, okay, let's work it out. We'll start the concentration camps up. You know, we'll see you when you come back in 2 weeks.
Yep, they'll all be ready for you.
At least have 2 weeks to figure it out, right?
Yeah, try and pull something together in 2 weeks. Yeah, and throwing trees at them. Then we cut back to Amber in the dorm room, who is utterly traumatized,
very shaken up. We've not seen her like this.
No, because she's very confident.
She's really shaken up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and she knows that's wrong too. She's kind of wanting him to get it because the way she's talking to him is like she's already made up her mind.
Yeah,
that this is kind of done, but she needs him to arrive there with her.
Yes, right. Yeah, and it's what she says to him when she's like, "Look, like I've never." She even says, "I'm normally confident. I'm like very happy-go-lucky, but in that moment, I felt everything. I felt how small I am, and realistically, like you have bigger priorities than me in your life, Mark. I don't want to be the one thing people use against you to stop you from doing something. I can't have that." And that's when she comes. She's kind of, as you said, Zach. She's already there in her mind saying, "This cannot work. You need to see the reason here, Mark." And it's interesting because it's different. Last time, Mark wouldn't see the reasoning of ANISSA. This time, Mark has no choice. He must see this reason because there's no way to go forward here.
It makes you wonder how many times Debbie was used as like a pawn to get to Nolan, right? Mm-hmm. Like how many times she was held hostage or something. I mean, she's held hostage in this one, but like, you know, before this, because that has to shake you up. But like, I mean, Debbie was in it for the long haul, so maybe she's gotten used to it. But Amber, like, she can't handle this one. So
no, honestly, no. And like, you know what? It's the right decision from Amber. Like, it makes complete sense.
It is. Please write her out. I'm done with Amber now. Like, I'm so over it.
It's the right decision because Zach hates her. That's what we say.
Yes. William, Rick, and Mark can just all be together.
Yes, please. Lock that door and shut the windows. Let's go. Exactly. Yeah, and then obviously, you know, they cry, they hug it out, and then Mark sits on the school roof and he receives a phone call, Zach, and who is calling him?
It's from Debbie's phone, but it's Engstrom because he has to be back, right?
And he's holding Debbie and the baby.
Be back, but he's got Debbie and Oliver hostage. So,
yeah,
and then we have like our one credit, and then we have our post-credit scene.
Oh my god, this post-credit scene I fucking loved. So like, so good. And like, so if we remember, we go back, Alan the alien, it looked like he died. He was then brought back by the other ex-Viltrumite guy. And he basically said, look, the reason why we did this, because when you came back, you would come back stronger. And we need you in
I don't understand the logical sense to that, but sure. You know, we'll just
let's go with it.
Let's just skip past it.
Yeah. I think it's like the anatomy of like Alan the alien's race. Like, okay, we can, sure, you come back, you're stronger. But I do love how that's proved here. So then, you know, ANISSA goes back to the ship. She sees General Krieg. And like, you know, he's like, oh, well, you didn't manage to do it. And he says...
They could have made him look so much better than her because she's supposed to be his superior. Or
he's supposed to be
her boss, right?
Yeah.
So... But he doesn't. He looks weaker than her. You know, he doesn't look as strong, as powerful as like, you know, Big Baddie as she does. So I'm not scared of him. I'm scared of her.
Yeah,
you know?
He's like up there, like the Monopoly guy with like his little monocle, just sitting on the ship.
Like, you look cute. You know, you're like a teddy bear.
Cute. Come here, man. Come here, Kriegi. But yeah, and like obviously he says, oh, like she says he is poisoned just like his father. And then we get Alan the alien, who is just swimming by in space, goes by the ship, and he's like, oh. And then obviously he is picked up by the ship. She comes out. I fucking love this. Yes. So like before, they tore him to shreds. And then this time, like she obviously lands.
It was like one punch to the eye, wasn't it? Yeah. And it was terrible.
Literally tore him up. And then I love like when he punches her back. And for the first time, she's like seeing blood on her hands from her nose. And she's like, whoa.
She's like, I like that immediately. She's like, we got to study you.
Yeah. We're going to take you in. Yeah.
And he's, you know, he holds up against her. But then he does like play dead for a second or play like, you know, knocked out so that they'll take him aboard.
I love as well. He says that shitty line where he's like, "You want to take me to prison with those punches?" Like, I fucking love it. Like, Seth Rogen is the perfect person for Alan the Alien. He delivers it so well. And as you said, Zach, like he like knocks her. She knocks him out, and then we see him like as he goes past the screen. He kind of like he's opened his eyes and he looks up at her and he like smiles, then shuts his eyes again. He wants to get on that ship.
I love Alan 2.0.
So great. 2.0, I love it. And then we get that is the end. That is the end of the episode.
So some
much
shit
happens.
needs to happen in episode 8. Episode 8 needs
Yes.
to be an hour and a half long because I don't know what are they gonna do to wrap all this up and leave us satisfied for the next however long it takes till season 3.
I know.
Not to complain, but
Yeah.
8 episodes. I'm telling you, it's not enough.
And that is a lot. In this last half of this season alone, there's so much happened where, like, now we've got Angstrom back. We still got Krieg who's going to come down to Earth. What's happening with Nolan? Like, Alan the Alien's on board that ship. Like, there's all of this going on. It's going to be a lot to cram into this last episode. I hope it is an hour and a half long, to be fair, because they need the time to really let everything breathe. But so overall thoughts of this episode, Zach, and then give it a rating out of 10.
I think this was absolutely goodness, rating out of 10. Maybe like an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
There was room for improvement here, but I do think this was my favorite out of the episodes for the second half of season 2 that we've gotten so far. And I like the theme of choices. I like the theme of, I don't know, how you decide to handle your own trauma.
Yeah.
Whether you let it like kind of take you over or conquer it. And Amber, we didn't even talk about Amber. Amber had that as well, right? Like she was left with trauma by the end of the episode and decided to buckle under it instead. And so I thought it was really interesting that we had all of these different contrasts of that. So I really liked it. Yeah.
Same. I absolutely agree. I have 9 out of 10 written down, which is the score I've given the last 3 episodes, literally, because I just think they're so high quality. Again, it's like Invincible always does this where it could be your generic run-of-the-mill superhero show that we've seen a billion times before. But whenever it finds its way into reminding us of like the humanness of choice, of trauma, of how this can actually affect you, like we've seen so many superhero shows before where it focuses on how strong the superheroes are. And that's the main thing. And like films, we've seen that a billion times. How strong is Superman? We've seen that a million times. But what I love about this is it just reminds us of the effects of all of that, how it affects the heroes, how it affects the human characters, what you actually go through.
It's so good. Yeah.
It's honestly, it's a perfect exploration. Like that one thing of choice, we see characters all the way through this episode make different choices on different varying levels of like importance. And then grief, as you said, and trauma, like we've seen that all the way through this season in the way that someone like Amber, who's so confident, so like
I'm so worried that like Debbie's gonna have to come face to face with Nolan again.
Oh, I think it's gonna happen.
I don't want it for her. I want us to just like kill Nolan.
And she's got Paul now, the guy from work, so she don't need Nolan.
Yes. And Nolan cannot take her baby.
No.
He cannot take him.
Yeah. And to be fair, like he did say to take the baby. But remember that one thing and that last storyline from the last episode is when Mark showed Alan the Alien the books, Nolan's books, and he said, read my books, Mark. Remember, that's going to come back into this last
looking for laser guns, for space racers, for all of this shit. I was listening to all those little
all those little clues. You were like writing them down yourself. Yeah. But yeah, this for me, it's like, it's so strong, man. Like this show, the way it like explores all of this within a superhero show. And the show keeps building out, but we still keep moving forward with the characters we love, the characters that are familiar with us. And that's what it does really well. We don't get lost in, as you said, Zach, there's a million Guardians, but we're not bothered about them because we're moving through the show with Mark, with Debbie, with the big, strong characters that we love and already know. It's phenomenal work.
So good, man. One episode. That's Psycho. That's Psycho, because I didn't start watching the beginning of the season when it came out, so I was probably like 2 episodes behind.
Right.
And now it feels like it's over. Already.
I know. Bam. Done. I know, man. But I hope it's later on this year that we get the start of the next season. I really do, because I've been working on the next season for a while already. So I hope, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Zach, I want to say a big thanks for jumping in and doing this episode, man. It's always great to have you back. Always great to have you back and to talk about Invincible, something that we both love as well. But tell everybody where they can find you on the internet, Zach.
Oh, I put a lot of I'll have a YouTube channel, AZB on YouTube. But I put a lot of energy and effort into my Patreon. So patreon.com/AZB plus PLUS. And that's my main thing right now.
There you go. So go check it out. But yeah, so remember that there are video counterparts to our podcast here. So if you do want to watch us talk about Invincible, it's all available on Last Week On. Type that into YouTube. You'll find my videos on there, and you can watch all of the episodes that we do, as well as listen on all streaming podcasts. So if you do want to listen to us, we're available on all of them. Make sure you follow us on social media as well. Just type in Last Week On and all the usual suspects, like the hellscape that is Twitter, on Instagram, everything. Just type it in. You'll find it on there. If you want to follow me personally, I am at Straughan87 on everything. Come and say hello to me on there as well. But again, Zach, thanks so much for jumping on and doing this, man. This was super fun, and looking forward to the finale, which we'll have to get you on to talk about there.
Yeah, I love talking the show, so anytime.
All right. Totally. All right, well, until next time, everyone, take care.